I guess what I'm trying to convey is that feeling when you get to the beach and you watch these amazing waves break, and
Yeah.
you're not watching them from a 600 millimeter zoom lens, you
No.
know.
Yep.
You have
Yep.
this wide look, and you see the whole environment, and you see the whole wave.
Helio Antonio, welcome to the podcast, brother, and thank you so much for making the time to come on here.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. Like I told you, I'm a fan of the podcast, so it's a pleasure.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. Appreciate it. Hey, so I'm guessing a lot of people that follow me and going to see this have seen your amazing images on social media and around the place. But maybe can you just start off by giving people a little bit of a background of where you're from, where you grew up, and yeah, maybe how just photography came about for you.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Nazaré, and nowadays everyone knows what kind of spot that is, you know, like
Yeah.
good waves, but there's a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up really close to the beach, like 100 meters from the beach. So
Mm.
this connection with the ocean started pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very late. I started the bodyboarding really late, you know. So I was
Uh-huh.
like 10 years old.
Yep.
Uh, but it was something that I wanted to do for a long time, and a bunch of my friends already surfed. So
Mm-hmm.
I started around 17, and I was hooked since then.
Yeah.
And um, I mean, I think photography wise, it was pretty early since I started bodyboarding that I wanted to shoot, you know. As soon as
Mm.
I started surfing, like those better waves, barrelings and stuff, I
Yep.
was just like, I want to shoot this, you know.
Yeah.
So it pretty much started like that.
Yep.
This urge to shoot what the barrels that I was
Mm.
watching, and it
Yep.
started in the water, you know, with a disposable camera.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
because I didn't have a camera at the time, and the cheapest option to take to the water was this waterproof disposable cameras,
Yeah.
and it was like 24 pictures, and then
Yep.
you on film,
Go develop the
and
film. Yep.
yeah. So
Amazing.
that was my introduction to photography, to surf
That's
photography.
awesome. So was it a bit like so you started bodyboarding and then when you're out there seeing the ocean maybe from like a different angle that you'd seen before, you kind of started to see some images that you wanted to get? Is that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because being in the water was what really sparked the will
Mm.
to shoot. You know,
Yeah.
like there, in my view, there's nothing more beautiful than a perfect barrel in
Yeah.
nature. You know,
Yep.
so I was
Yep.
just like hooked, and I'm
Love
like,
it.
I want to shoot this. I want to grab an image of this,
Yeah.
and
That's
so
awesome.
that's how it started.
So how'd you go with those the early film shots? Did you get any shots early that kind of got you excited?
Uh, when I look at them nowadays, they're not, you
Of
know?
course.
But at the time I was stoked, you know, and I
Yep.
wasn't really trying to achieve anything like huge. I just wanted some
Mm.
memories of what I was watching,
Yeah.
and I think it was good for the time.
Of course. Yeah.
Like I told you, when I look at them nowadays, there's nothing that I'm like,
Yep.
wow, what's this? But
Yeah.
the memories are awesome, and there's some cool shots, so that's
Definitely.
cool.
Yeah. So what led you then to maybe getting a proper camera, quote unquote, like maybe a digital
Yeah,
camera?
because
Yeah.
I was just hooked, and I wanted more and more and better, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yep.
And it took me a while because I mean, digital was kind of starting,
Mm-hmm.
and so it took me a while to get a camera. Also
Yep.
because I couldn't afford it, I
Yeah.
was young and I didn't
Yeah.
have any money. So it took me a while to get my first camera.
Yep.
But since I jumped in the water and started surfing, I just wanted to take more and more photographs and shoot more and more
Mm.
and improve my photography. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was the wheel. It was never like I never thought about making it my paycheck. You know,
Mm. Yep. Yep. That's amazing.
I just wanted to shoot because I loved it. That
Yeah.
was, and for a long time, years and years and years, that was always my goal. I never thought of it as a
Yep.
profession.
Yep.
You know, so it took me a long time to start it, to shift my focus and my
Mm.
way of thought to think, okay, I can make some money out of this.
Yep.
and it took me quite a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was shooting, like obviously lots of spots, but Nazaré was one of the spots you're shooting early on.
Yeah, mainly Nazare and Peniche.
Yep. Yep.
And there's some nice spots around Nazare also.
Yep.
But I mean, if you're in Nazare, there's a lot of angles and waves,
Yes.
and a lot
Yeah.
of there's a lot of images to capture
Yeah.
to different.
But I'm guessing this is before it was the world phenomenon that it is today. So like, what was it? Yeah, what was it like then? Was it just locals and?
Yeah, basically just locals. Nobody was surfing huge waves, you know. Everyone was surfing. I mean, there's the most famous spot is at Nazaré. It's North Beach, where the big waves break.
Yep.
But then we have the main peak at the villa, which is amazing.
Yep.
Nowadays not so good because of sandbanks.
Yep.
But most of the local guys were surfing in downtown, and it had amazing waves.
Yeah.
When it was too small there, then we went to North Beach to surf like 2 meters, something like that.
Yeah.
And in early 2000s, there's a bunch of dudes from a town up north, Figueira da Foz. They were really hardcore bodyboarders, and they started surfing Nazaré like big waves.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And we started watching a different kind of surfing over there.
Yeah.
Something we didn't think it was possible for us to paddle.
Incredible. Yeah.
So they kind of pushed the limits. It was the Faustino from Porto and a bunch of guys, legends from Figueira da Foz.
Yeah.
They started pushing the limits on bodyboarding. And they were surfing maybe 4-meter waves, 5-meter waves, paddling at Nazaré, which is crazy. Nowadays, we see people surfing 20-something meters there.
Yeah.
And we may think of these early sessions, like small days, but they're not small.
No, not at all.
They're not.
So was it the wave? It was breaking like that, like before you saw it just breaking like that before people were surfing it? Was it just a like crazy wave that you guys kind of knew about that broke sometimes, but just wasn't surfable or something?
You mean the big days?
Yeah. Like when you see like the big days at Nazaré now, like sort of from the cliff and everything, was that something that locals were sort of like, was that breaking like that all the time, like when you were growing up, in terms of like in season and just?
I mean, not all the time. I mean, huge days, maybe it's 10 times a season, you know, like the huge days.
Yeah.
On those days, we just maybe went to Peniche for some different kind of waves, because even where it would be out of control.
Yeah.
If we didn't go to Peniche, we went to North Beach at Nazaré just to check, you know. And there was absolutely no one on the cliff. Maybe a couple of fishermen and just us checking the waves.
That's amazing to think about now, isn't it? Yeah,
it's crazy. And we went there, and I mean, it never crossed our minds that anyone could surf it. You know?
Yeah.
It was just so huge and out of control. And we didn't really knew how big it was, because there was no reference, you know. We knew it was big, but maybe 10 meters, not 20 or 25, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So we went there and we were like, oh, look at that wave. It's huge and perfect.
Yeah.
And it was that, you know, there was nothing more than that.
Yeah.
And then like these guys started pushing a bit the limits. And then some local guys at Nazaré, they started thinking of doing some contests in kind of more gnarly conditions, maybe 4 or 5 meters for bodyboard.
Yeah.
That started a special event, which was attended by some big names.
Yeah.
And when that project ended, then the same group of people started thinking of inviting tow surfers to surf really, really big waves. So that's how it started.
Yep.
No one accepted the invitation unless Garrett McNamara took the invitation.
Of course,
Nowadays, everyone knows how it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what about you personally then? Can you kind of take us through, like, so you mentioned sort of how you got a camera. So if you look on your website now, like, you know, you list companies like Red Bull and Mercedes-Benz and National Geographic things that you've worked with. So there's a point between your little point and shoot to that stage. So how did your personal career kind of progress, and what sort of things happened along the way?
Yeah, so like I told you, it took me a while, because I was always thinking about it as something I enjoyed doing in not to make money. But then in around 2015, I think my work got noticed on social media, and got noticed by some folks at Magic Seaweed.
Yep.
And from then on, they asked me, "Hey, do you want to shoot a big wave day for us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So it was, maybe I was shooting for them like 3-4 sessions of big waves a season. And at the time, I was still working on. I studied psychology, so I was working as a psychologist.
Okay.
And so it never crossed my mind that I would be doing it full time. I was just like, "Hey, there's 5 sessions a year, big wave sessions. I'm doing these big wave sessions, and that's it." And then when fast forwarding a bit, I was working in Lisbon in 2019, and like corporate job, like human resources, working 9 to 6. And I kept seeing everyone getting amazing waves, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm dying inside, you know." So 2019, I just said, "Okay, that's it. I'm gonna try to do photography as a full-time job." And I just quit my job and went back to Nazaré. And then things started happening, you know. Like what I guess when you're available and when you have nothing to when you're completely available to do whatever you want and to focus on photography, then things started happening, you know. Like you're working, if you have a full-time job, you're constantly denying proposals and etc. Once you're 100% free, then you can start accepting and really focus on photography. And that's how it evolved, you know. I started getting more and more work, photography and video.
Was this sort of stuff, was this you being contacted because of your work that had been seen, or would you then go like and reach out to surfers or brands and say, "Hey, I'm here, I can shoot"? Or
no, I don't think I ever did a job where I contacted anyone.
Wow.
I was always reached, so that's cool. And I mean, once you start networking and meeting people, and the machine starts rolling, and that's more or less how it took off.
Was there many photographers, I guess, in the area like at the time? Like, was this a combination of Nazaré sort of becoming a thing on the surfing map and people starting to know about it, so more people going, so maybe it has more attention, and therefore you're one of the guys there that's a photographer? Was the pool of photographers very big, or was it sort of just a select few of you that were kind of there?
There were, I mean, compared to nowadays, there weren't a lot of people shooting at the time. There were maybe a couple of guys doing it full time, photography and video. Yeah, it was. I think what sparked people's attention on my work, it was, since I had no obligations to be shooting any surfer or doing a specific angle, I was just wandering around the beach, you know, and that led me to do some different kind of shots.
Of course,
and I think that's why my work got noticed and how it took off. Because if I was standing on the cliff doing the same angle over and over again, it was just like everyone else had been shooting. And I don't think I would bring anything really different from other guys, you know? So I think that's what sparked a bit of people's attention on my work. And I'm glad that's how it. And
that's
there's
awesome.
a lesson in this. It's like, if you just have to do do it your own way, you know. Once people start telling you rules on what you should shoot, how to shoot, then you use your identity and you're just like anyone else, you know. So I always have this liberty to shoot how I want it. And I think that's an awesome thing if you're a photographer, you know.
Definitely.
Just shoot how you feel it.
It's amazing. So what does your work life, kind of like surf photography work life, look like now? Like, you're coming into, I guess, the start of the season in Portugal. Like, is it the same? Do you have work lined up? Is it just a matter of you're going to probably people are going to start getting in touch with you? How does that work?
There's never work lined up, at least in surf photography. I mean, whenever a forecast is good, I'll get an email from Magic City. Nowadays it's Surfline. Asking me if I can cover the swell. So I never have work scheduled for like 3 months later. At least in surf photography, you know. So it's all really depending on the forecast and how good it looks. And but since Portugal is such a consistent place, you know, there's waves up during the season, it's pumping all the time. So that's at least 1-2 good swells a week.
So good.
It kind of holds the good way. I also do different work besides surf photography.
That's what I was going to say. Do you shoot other stuff?
Yeah, I shoot other stuff. I've been shooting some real estate photography, which is something I have zero pleasure in doing it. So
pays the bills between swells.
Yeah, of course. And
still better than sitting in an office 9 till 6, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the clients are always nice, you know. So that's something I enjoy doing also. And I do events. And some friends of mine asked me to go shoot some trips or something like that. So
cool.
Basically,
amazing. Do you get to travel much outside of Portugal with surf photography?
Not as much as I would like to. At least in the off season. I want to start traveling a lot more during off season. And there's opportunities for it. It just never really turned that way. So I think next Portuguese summer, I think I'll be able to travel a lot more.
Cool, amazing. Yeah, you touched on before that you mentioned like your style, because like you're a bit more like free to shoot, and so maybe you shot stuff in a different way. You've got a quote that says, "My goal is to create images that carry emotion and that make people have a strong desire to be near the sea." So what's that like when you're shooting just like on your own? Like, what are those elements you're looking for to get that feeling?
Yeah, well, I kind of been thinking about it a bit because I was watching my recent work, and most of it's a lot of pulled back shots, you know. So I guess what I'm trying to convey is that feeling when you get to the beach and you watch these amazing waves break, and you're not watching them from a 600 millimeter zoom lens, you know. You have this wide look and you see the whole environment and you see the whole wave. So I think that's kind of what I like to shoot more. It doesn't mean that I don't like to shoot different angles and different approaches, like more pulled in shots, because I don't want to be repeating my work, you know. I want to diversify as much as I can. But if I have to choose my most favorite images would be definitely pulled back shots with a bit of landscape. I mean, it's for me when I'm going through a book or a magazine with the surf images, that's the image, that's the kind of photos that I say, wow, you know.
Yeah, me too.
I gotta be there. You know. So that's the kind of image that I love making. And it's the kind of image that I want to be focused on, basically.
Yeah, I love that. That's really interesting because I'm exactly the same like that. I call it like surfscape, which is like that more pulled back style of stuff. And I love like all of your images like that, and guys like Rambo Estrada and like that just sort of like shoot that
Exactly.
style. Yeah. And
Yeah.
but that's fascinating the way that it's just interesting how people articulate it, but how you mentioned that it's like most people are going to the beach and turning up and not looking through a 600mm lens. Like that's kind of what they're seeing. So maybe there is a resonance with people when they view the image, because it's kind of like, well, I can relate to that angle of view, but then there's this beautiful wave and sunrise or whatever, like in the shot and everything. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think like when you're shooting, even if it's if it's a perfect day for waves,
Mm-hmm.
if you're zooming too much, there's so much you're losing, you know,
Mm.
or you
Yep.
could be losing.
Yeah.
But it really depends on the landscape and a lot of factors.
Mm.
But whenever possible, I'll do some pullback shots because that's what I love watching. I
Yep.
always shot like, okay, so what do I want to be looking when I get home, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want to look at some images that uh, get me thrilled to go to the beach and to go
Yep.
surfing.
Yeah.
And I think these are the kind of images that better translate that feeling.
Yeah. Amazing. So, I mean, you've got some like amazing waves, like down there from like an aesthetic point of view. I mean, like Nazaré, you've got Super Tubes, like all of the spots. Is there, it's interesting just looking at your images, is there particular conditions that you're specifically looking for? Like what I found interesting about, say, even a lot of your Nazaré stuff is most people around the world think of it now as this big wave spot. But I
Yeah,
feel like a lot of those A-frame shots that you've got when it's, you know, quote unquote smaller, like it's not small, but it's definitely not like the 80-foot waves. Like it just looks so aesthetic and cool. Like, is there sort of a preference for you in that type of conditions?
yeah. I would say I love to shoot Nazare when it's like 2 meters. You know,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
that's it's a size that you can relate. That
Mm-hmm.
you would be like, oh, I want to surf it. You
Yep.
know, and I think people also get the same feeling that
Mm-hmm.
whenever they're looking at huge waves, they're like, oh, this is amazing, but I would not surf it.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
wouldn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And when it's half 2 meters, a bit bigger than that, people are like, oh, I wish I was there surfing.
Yeah. They can mind surf it, like actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's the kind of size that really that I really love shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the thing about Nazaré is it sometimes it's a lot of times it maintains the same aesthetics on different sizes. You know,
Yep.
it's not like the wave changes drastically when it gets bigger.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yep. Mm.
it can break a bit further outside, but it's generally the same kind of wave.
Yep.
But answering your question, yeah, I would say the
Mm.
smaller the 2 meters are the ones that I love
Yeah.
shooting the most.
And because you've shot it so much, is it sort of like a goal when you go in there to continue to sort of try and find it from different angles and different vantage points and sort of create something maybe just new that hasn't been shot?
I think like if I think about the angles, I've so many sessions over there. There's not a lot of more new stuff to shoot, but
Yep.
I want to be. My goal would be to shoot in different lighting conditions,
Yes. Yep.
different times of the
Mhm.
day,
Yep.
and I think that would be my goal.
Mm-hmm.
Probably it.
Yep. What about on the like the big like so when there's like the big days that everyone knows about at Nazaré, like with the increase of people going there and I guess photographers come along with that, does that get increasingly more difficult to get like an original shot or something that like stands out these days?
I mean, yeah. Nowadays, if you go to Nazaré on a big day,
Mm.
there will probably be 100 photographers on
Yeah.
the cliff.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to get a shot that stands out
Mm.
because there's so many people shooting it.
Yep.
But I think you can still maintain a different approach
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking for it. Because what most photographers do when they get there, they just get on the top of the road and they start
Mm.
going down and start shooting the lighthouse and the wave. You
I
know.
guess it's like anything, right? When it's like a new area to people like that, it's like you're going to go. A lot of the tourists, so to speak, are going to go and just shoot the angle that they've seen a million times. So perhaps by being there, it gives you an opportunity to kind of keep exploring something even slightly different.
Yeah, exactly. What will work differently is if you get like a beach angle, a lower angle, but then if you're working and if you have to deliver work, then it's you're taking a risk, because in 10 waves maybe you'll get a good one, maybe, you know. And then there's the mist, and then there's, I don't know, a lot of factors that might not work well for you. So the safe shot is just to be on the cliff and get wiped out.
Maybe go nail a couple of those first and then go and explore.
Exactly. So that's what people do, and they do it all day long. But I think the best thing to do is just walk around, you know. And just go with the flow. My best shots, I had zero pressure to deliver work. I was just moving around, and I was feeling drawn by the wave. So I was going down there, and it just happened, you know. So I think the lesson here is just follow a bit of your instinct.
Just how's it affected the town there? Because it's a pretty small little town, isn't it? So does it just get a massive influx of tourists? And
yeah, it's crazy.
Is it a good thing, or
there's two sides of the coin, you know? For local business is good. For me, I also have to admit is good. More work coming. The other side, it's things get a bit more expensive, and houses now are just like crazy expensive. So that's the worst about this whole thing, you know. Like rents doubled at minimum, you know, and if you buy it, it doubled or maybe tripled. So it can get really frustrating for local people to
it sucks.
get a place to live. But it's not only in Nazaré, it's happening all over Portugal. But Nazaré really took a hit because of the big waves, you know, because it's so well known worldwide that people from all over Europe and even all over the world are buying houses in Nazaré. And sometimes a single person is buying 2-3 houses, you know. It's crazy. And we local guys can't compete with that kind of money from Europe, you know. So it can be really tough and frustrating, for sure.
That sucks.
Part of it.
I heard something similar about the North Shore as well on Hawaii, because it's something like there's some kind of rule in Hawaii that everyone pays like equal share of land tax or something, but like because so many people are coming in and putting in $1 million mansions, then just literally the rates for locals to live have just like skyrocketed because of not even because of their houses, because of the expensive houses. It's just it's insane.
I read about it, and it gotten worse since COVID, because everyone from all over the world they didn't want to be living in their flats in the middle of New York, you know. So they wanted to be in the nature. So there was definitely some pressure, and locals started being pushed to inland. And I mean, it's kind of sad, you know, like local people not being able to afford
definitely
afford the places.
Now we're talking about your shooting before, so there's a quote on your site from the surfer Nick von Rupp. He said he's one of the best Portuguese photographers, the most complete, shooting drone, land, and water. And so that just kind of raises the question, like, of those three things, is there, like, what's your decision making process like in terms of shooting either of those, or is there a preference, or does it just depend on conditions, whatever?
So the thing that gives me the most pleasure is water, definitely. I think any surf photographer that has been shooting in water will tell you the same thing. The feeling you get shooting in the water is just unbeatable, you know. Like whenever I'm shooting inland, I'm like, it's kind of this feeling that I'm cheating, you know. Like I should be out there, you know. So it's not an easy call sometimes. But definitely what gives me the most pleasure doing it would be water photography.
Yep.
And the decision is not easy to do it, because we don't have a lot of places in Portugal where just standing on the channel and not taking a beating. Most of the places, Nazare, super tubes, is just pumping, and you're always getting pounded. And the thing is, you want to be shooting at this point in my career, I don't want to be shooting the same 3-foot waves, or you want to be shooting waves with more gnarly waves. And that's not an easy thing to do if you're shooting Nazare or super tubes.
Of course, yeah.
So that's the kind of thought always in my head.
And then what about the drone? Do you just kind of throw that up when you're out there shooting anyway, just to kind of get some different angles, or?
Yeah, I mean, I decided to get a drone because, like I told you, I like to diversify as much as possible. And I'm so happy I did it, because sometimes the view up there it's so cool. And I'm really digging it. I know some photographers are like, no, I'm not touching a drone. I don't want anything to do with it. But it's just another tool to give you a different angle.
Definitely,
and for me, that's a good thing,
For sure.
It's not like I'm shooting and I'm having a blast. I'm not, I'm just looking at this tiny screen, and it's like there's no organic connection, But it still allows you to bring some really cool images home, and at the end of the day, that's my goal. So
100%. So do you shoot in the water or on a ski at Nazaré on like the bigger days?
I've done it in the past. That's something that I'm not really chasing anymore.
Cool.
I've done it for 2 seasons, 2 whole seasons in Nazare. And it was like, I'm done with this. I have zero fun doing it.
Okay. Cool.
I don't like jet skis. I hate jet skis.
Okay.
In my mind, it's like the opposite of why I jump in the water. Jump in the water to have this deep connection.
That makes sense.
To be at peace and to enjoy the feeling of being in the water. Not standing on the jet ski with the gasoline smell and the noise. I dislike it a lot. So I always whenever I need to shoot on a jet ski, it's because it's work, Obviously it's a very amazing equipment if you want to take different shots, and there's places all over the world that you wouldn't be able to shoot if it wasn't for a jet ski. But whenever I can, I avoid doing it. Like I told you, I've done it for 2 seasons, and I had zero pleasure doing it. So that's something I look forward to doing.
Are you shooting with like particular surfers ever, or generally for maybe like a brand, or like you said, for Surfline or something where you're capturing everything?
Yeah, most of in Nazaré, it's I would say 95% it would be for Surfline nowadays. Sometimes people hire me to shoot also, and but most of the work would be for Surfline.
So with that, because you got that cover shot for the 100-foot wave thing, so were you doing any work with that, whole production, or was it just the photo?
I was that day. I was working for Magic Seaweed, I believe. So it wasn't specific for HBO, and they've never hired me to be shooting. They just reach out to me and say, "Helio, do you want to send me some shots that you think are good?" And
cool.
That's how it went. So that's how it went.
Awesome. Another quote about you that says, "There's very few other photographers and videographers who go the distance like this legend." So where do you think that that's obviously come from, like a client or someone like you've worked for? So is that part of your thing? Like, as you've kind of gone through your career and you've started to work with these brands, is there just is that been part of it? Because it's interesting, this podcast, we like to talk about, I guess, like how people have got to where they are. Is it one of those things that it's just like, if I can just do that bit extra, over deliver, that kind of thing, that's been something that you do? And maybe where's that kind of come from for you?
Honestly, I kind of don't think about it that much.
Okay.
My goal is always um, to do something better for me, you know, like
Yep.
to evolve from my current, to always shoot different, always shoot better. Uh, uh, ex- ex- Except if I'm hired to do something really specific,
Yep.
I'm never thinking of brands or work or whatever. I'm always thinking of shooting for me, shooting
Yep.
something that really satisfies me.
Yep.
And I think that's the secret, you know, like
Yep.
when you're just focused on your own goals, because that translates in better work, and brands and people will enjoy it more.
Yeah.
Um, I find that whenever you're working for a brand or whatever, it has a lot of limitations, and my best work never comes from those kinds of sessions, you know.
Yep.
My best work
Yep.
comes when I'm not even shooting for Surfline or Magic Seaweed or anyone, just when I'm
Yep.
shooting, when I'm just totally relaxed and I can do what I want, and
Yep.
I have zero pressure. I can be at the beach at what time I feel like.
Yep.
So I think that's how I feel good
Cool.
shooting it. And that's when my best work comes out, I believe. I don't know
Amazing.
if I answered your question.
No, no, totally. Yeah. And then do you like any images you capture in that regard, like that you've captured them without any pressure, but do you then utilize them afterwards? Is that something maybe you'll put in like your print store, or is that something that you'll kind of forward through to a publication or something?
So that's a tough part, because now I have a lot of photographer friends that have a different approach, and they don't use social media the way as much as I do, and they save a lot of work, and they, on the back of their minds, is like, I never get any money from social media. And I don't think like that. I think
Yeah.
it's really, really important to showcase your work.
Yep.
And nowadays, there's no better place than social media, for
Yep.
better or for work or for
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
If I enjoy social media, hell no, I hate it. You know, man, I wish sometimes I really wish I didn't have any social media, but
Yep.
it's you need it nowadays. You know, at
Clearly it's
least.
working for you. If you never have to reach out for work, then clearly it's working for you.
Yeah, exactly, clearly. So the thing also is that I think I arrived a bit late to the game, because people who don't enjoy social media and they don't work a lot with social media are people that came from a different background. They started
Yep.
earlier. They already had that their clients for a
Yep.
while, you know. For me, it's a completely different set.
Yep.
I kind of had to put my name out there, and social media was the best platform for it. I
It's
mean,
awesome. Yeah.
um,
Yep.
and people criticize it a lot. It's like the algorithm, and I'm not reaching, and whatever. And I
Yep.
don't think that's a good approach. You know,
Nah,
I think
not at all.
that's a sign that you need to improve and
Yep.
do better. Because if you're doing different work, like completely different from other people in quality work, you'll get noticed, and people will see your work. So um, that's kind of it's kind of a bit of pressure, and at the same time it is not, because for me the social media aspect is something that you need to do, but sometimes it can be fun.
Yep.
So
Yep.
but
But with
we
your type of
need
work, because I've talked to some photographers about it, like if there is like a big swell or there's conditions in Nazaré, like you don't feel any pressure to put work out in terms of like, because people know that you're probably there covering it, or is that sort of slightly different for you? Like you'll kind of just put
so
stuff out when you.
Yeah, so my workflow is nowadays what I'm doing with Surfline. Whenever I'm working for them, I will never put my best shots of the day online
Yep.
on the day.
Yep.
And I know that's not the best thing if you're thinking about engagement, because if you get home and you put like a killer shot, it will go viral, and that's
Yep.
good for you. But at the same time, you need to respect your clients. So if
Sure.
they're asking
Yeah.
me, can you hold on a bit while the stuff comes out? I completely understand, and I go along with it. And maybe I'll just post a different shot, you know. But I'll save the best for the clients. And that's my workflow nowadays. If I'm shooting for someone, I'll save the best shots for them. But a lot of times there's good wave sessions, and I can just come home and choose the one I like the most and post it.
Awesome.
And put it online. But one thing that I'm kind of struggling nowadays is that I'm kind of saving some shots for a project that I want to be doing, which would be a book of non-released photos. So it's a tough thing to think, because I'm constantly thinking, okay, I need to feed my social media, but also I want to save the best images for the future, for my special project. So it's kind of this you're thinking, what should we do? But
for sure. So that's a book. That's a book of your own, just your book.
Yeah. That's something that I would love releasing. It's not a short-term project. I want to release it whenever I think it's ready. And I've been saving a few images that I think are good images that I think people will enjoy. And I think it would be awesome for people that follow my work and that enjoy my work to have a book of images they've never seen from me. And images that on my view they're really good images.
Amazing.
So I'm kind of saving some images for that goal. And but like I told you, it's always hard to that balance between having to feed your social media and saving best work.
Especially like you said, when you know you've kind of got a banger and it's probably going to do really well, it's like it's hard to hold back on it.
Because when you have a really cool picture and you post it, you're gonna get a bunch of new followers. And more followers means more people view your work. More work opportunities. I mean, for better or worse, like social media is.
I'm like, I don't understand why people think it's a problem. It's like you said, more followers, more engagement, more people see the work. Chances are more chance of someone reaching out to you to do paid work. So for everyone that says like, I'm not going to put a photo out for free, like you're just putting your portfolio out to get hired, basically. So it's always been a weird one for me. I'm exactly the same as you. I just share and put it out there and engage, and like I've got like lots of different work from it, like even non-surf related work. You know what I mean? Like
I think the same. I think you're missing a bunch of opportunities if you're not putting your best work out there.
Definitely.
Like I told you, if you have these really solid clients that really go back to you, then it's
that's fine. But for sure. Now you mentioned like your book, but you're involved in, is it Salitre? Is that how you say it? Like Salitre? Yeah, that book project. Yeah, can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So this Portuguese photographer, André Carvalho, he's a really good photographer, and he's been in the game for quite a few years now. And he during the middle of COVID, where there was no work and people weren't going to the beach, a lot of people weren't surfing, all these restrictions and lockdowns and etc. So he got this idea of releasing a book that could showcase how was surfed during COVID. And the second idea he got was, maybe I'm not doing this alone, and I'm inviting a few more photographers to do it with me, because teamwork makes the dream work. You know, that's kind of his thought. So he invited four more photographers, me being one of them, and that's how it started. It was just 5 photographers from all over Portugal, from north to south, different styles, different views, living in different areas. Just everyone getting together and showcasing their best COVID shots. So that's how it started. And it went. The people loved it so much, and that we thought, okay, we got to continue this work, and we're gonna release at least once a year,
Cool.
whenever we can. And our goal was never to do money with it; was just to put the book out there, you know, because it's
amazing.
easy to make money releasing books, as you're probably aware.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So the goal was just put the book out there, try to find the main sponsor that pays for the printing of the book, and we reached that goal, and we paid for the book, and then people bought the book, so it was awesome.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Now going for the third edition, third volume.
Great. Can people get it? Can people get it outside of Portugal?
Yeah, sure. It's we can ship worldwide. So
amazing. Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's unreal. So there's another one. There'll be another one coming out this year.
Yeah, so we want to release it by the end of October.
Okay, amazing.
It will showcase best sessions from the past season. So basically, that's the model. You shoot for the whole season, and at the end of the season, you release the book with some nice photos. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's unreal. One question that I kind of like to ask people, I'm really fascinated about. So when you go out on these days and Nazaré is at your 2 meters, like you said, it's like perfect A-frames and colorful light and everything's right. Like, what's your process then? Are you kind of racing home, emptying out the memory card, like looking at photos straight away and like, staying in that kind of mode? Or do you kind of like to let it marinate a little bit and come back and look at them later?
It can happen both things. Sometimes when I know that I have a really cool shot, I want to go watch it in the moment. But most of the times I'm just so tired that I don't want to do anything. I just want to chill and not touch anything. Of course, nowadays, if you're working and if you like working for Magic Seaweed or Surfline, they need the content as soon as possible. So you have to jump on the computer. And I mean, it's not the optimal solution for me. I like to relax, and I will never. One thing I won't do is edit the photo on the same day.
Okay.
For that, I want to be relaxed, like chilled, and feeling energized.
So you might look at it just to make sure it's sharp and you've nailed it and it's there, and then you can kind of let it settle for a bit. And cool. Exactly.
But if I can, I won't touch the photos. I will just relax and enjoy the rest of my day with the family. And maybe a sneak peek at the best shot, but not serious work,
Yeah. And how often are you shooting?
I mean, we're during the off season, not a lot. I mean, I basically shot 0 surf this season, except one session in Peniche. It was so bad that I wasn't shooting. But during the season, it's pumping all the time,
Cool.
2-3 sessions a week. When the winds are pumping offshore, you could be shooting 5 days a week, So it can get really hectic. All the footage that starts piling up. And so that's one thing that I enjoy. It's like a couple of days ago, I just went to my archives and I was digging through 2015, and there were so many sessions at Nazaré, like 2 meter, 3 meter waves, and a lot of shots. And I love doing it, just doing it, digging it in the archive and finding some gems, some shots that I love. It gives me a lot of pleasure doing it,
Well, especially if you have some sessions and there's like 5 days a week. Often you probably don't even get a chance to look at everything and pick out a few favorites, and that's it. What are the like with the beaches along there? Are the conditions like different, or are they the same? Like if it's firing at Nazaré, will it be firing at like Super Tubes as well, and do you have to make a decision, or do they kind of work on different conditions?
No, so a lot of times you have to make a decision. Like Nazaré, for instance, it's so versatile. It works with so many different conditions that places will be pumping, and because it works from 0.5 meter to 25 meters, it's very consistent. The only thing you'll need to check is if the wind is good or not. So but still there's a lot of wind directions that work, so you're constantly having to make decisions on the spots to go.
Definitely. Yeah, man, this has been amazing. So have you got anything else? You've mentioned the book that you're working on. Is there anything coming up to share
I
about,
mean,
or is it? Yeah.
there's the book. I want to be. I guess my goals would be to travel some more,
Uh-huh.
do a lot more traveling,
Yep.
because I mean, Portugal, it's there's a lot of places, but it's a real small place, and the landscape doesn't change that much. So I guess what I would love to do is travel some more and put in different places, different landscapes, different kinds of waves. So that would be my goal. And yeah, the book is always on the back of my mind. Whenever I
Cool.
see a
Yep.
shot that I really like,
Yeah.
I put it aside.
Yep.
And I would like to do later also an exhibit, an exposition on also
Yeah.
those
Yep.
shots, which would be really cool.
Yep.
And I'm starting to shoot a bit more video, which I
Cool.
also
Okay.
love. And that's a whole different world, a whole
Yeah.
different to take, you know. But
Yep.
I enjoy it a lot. So
Yep.
there's a lot of stuff that I want to be doing, and not that much time, you know.
Yep.
But
Are you self-publishing the book, or have you got something arranged?
I'll have to check the best option.
Yep.
I might reach to some publishers. I
Yep.
might do something. I don't know. I have to check different options and see what would work best. Maybe
Yep.
some partnership.
Yeah.
I don't know. Doing it alone, it's not easy.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm sure
Yeah.
there will be a time, the perfect time for it. And
Yep. No, it's amazing. Yeah. If anyone's work is made to be on coffee tables, it's yours. So I think people will be stoked when that comes out. But yeah, man, thank you so much for taking the time. This is exactly why I wanted to start this podcast, to have these chats with people behind just the photos that we see online, and yeah, find out all about them and what motivates them. And yeah, this is amazing. So thank you so much for your time, and yeah, appreciate it.
oh, my pleasure, Scott. It was amazing.
Cool.
And keep doing it, man. I love it.
Awesome. Cheers, brother. Take it easy.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.